Hey everyone, in this video, I will lead you step by step through a complete reset of your digital life. I'm joined in the studio today by my dear friend, Rafael Sisa, who will be our guinea pig and show you a real life example of what this looks like. I have kind of a process here that we actually have other videos about, but I wanted to start with getting a little bit of your story. What's going on in life right now? What's going on in your work life, in your family life? What brought you to be with us here today?
I think that I've been kind of feeling this like spiral of just suck. I think that's probably the best way to say it. It's a spiral of suck. I had all kinds of like, oh my God, is this like a midlife crisis? Because, I turned 40 last year. My dad passed away when he was 80. And then in July of 2024, I got laid off. There's something that like my dad shared with me before he passed, which was, did I make the right choices? Did I teach you and, my brother the right things? There's something about that for me really communicated this need to have a meaningful life. Yeah, I think that's sort of like the groundwork for this.
Wow. Thank you for being very open and transparent about what's going on in life. I think that's super important. Like, we often dive straight into like the latest productivity tool or technique, but I think what you're sharing with us, which is true for everyone, is that there's a wider context beyond or encompassing or transcending your productivity systems and your digital systems. Before you even think about the future and projects and goals, you just have to like wipe the slate clean. Otherwise, it's just this like mess and this noise constantly cluttering your mind, right? So what I typically recommend is 4 steps. The first one is very simple, but sweeping, which is to just archive everything. I'm talking your unread emails, the notes in your Notes app inbox, anything on your desktop, everything where information has just accumulated, to just archive it away.
Okay. Yeah.
A second is to clear your inboxes, but this could be, we've already mentioned email, but this could even be your Slack inbox, your text messages, your WhatsApp messages. Like, think of all the communication channels. There might be some stuff kind of built up there. Third step is we need to get a handle on what you're currently committed to. Before we invent new projects, we need to know what's already on your plate. You're not starting from a blank slate. So this is just like your current commitments, home projects you're committed to, stuff with your son, promises you've made to your wife, side projects you have, side gigs, all those kind of things. And then fourth, we're going to turn off notifications. This word encompasses a lot because it's also, in a way, kind of like your relationship to your phone. Before we dive into the hands-on portion, check out this video where I lead you through these same exact 4 steps to digitally declutter and reset your own digital world. All right, let's get into it.
Okay.
Down and dirty. So let's start, according to our checklist, with archiving. What are the existing repositories of information that you could
Oh, Lord. Okay. Let's start with like the files. iCloud. I've got Dropbox. I've got Google Docs. There's so much shit in all of them that I'm like,
So you may want to consolidate or change which of those you use, but that's a project. Okay. So let's save that for the future.
Okay.
What I would do now is just in each of those places, leave everything. Don't even try to move it, except like into one folder so that it's just a little cleaner.
Okay. I'll start with Dropbox. I'll just do it. New folder. Ooh. Archives.
And then I would put today's date.
1/3/25. Okay. Bye files. All right. Done. And I'll do the same with iCloud. That tool basically created multiple of the same folder in different places.
Okay.
So it's pretty free except for that.
That's quite clean.
Yeah, now Google Drive. All right, there we go. New folder. 1/3/25. Create. And then I'm going to take everything except for that. Move that in. There you go.
Okay. What about do you use a task manager, any kind of digital to-do list?
Yeah.
So is this a place, I'm thinking of like the today area or the inbox area that you might want to kind of archive what's there.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, this is all stuff here that I'm very happy to like just stick in in an archive. In fact,
so there's a few things you can either delete them outright. You could move them to Sunday, which is just basically like maybe someday eventually, or you could check them off as done.
Yeah, I'll put them in someday and then go back to that. This one, these are the reminders that come up are also quite nice. So these ones I will also just stick into the someday. Get rid of that.
I hereby declare that our first step of archiving everything is now complete.
Oh my gosh, how do we celebrate? Do we do a little dance or something like that?
Okay, so next we have
clear my inboxes.
Yeah, so what does that look like?
All right, well, if you're like me, you have millions of emails that have not been attended to. And I will select everything. Oh gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Ah! Oof. Wait, what did I just do? Did I just do that? Oh, you know what I did? All, and then archive. Is there, oh, you know what's really nice? This is what I forgot about. You go here. So what I just did was I clicked into the actual, this is like split up into priorities, right?
Select all 8,000
exactly.
notifications.
Oh, fuck me.
What are the other communication tools you use?
I mean, text. Okay, so at the top here, you click select messages and then read all. Done deal.
Sweet. The unicorn and the donut are going to be very disappointed.
Very, very, very disappointed.
I think it's time to...
Well, great.
Clear your inboxes. Not so hard, huh?
I'm not even sure if I'm thinking about all the consequences of clearing out my inbox, like all these emails that I might have to get to at some point, or people that I need to like return their message.
Honestly, I think there's fewer consequences than you fear. The people who are truly important will reach out again. The things that truly matter will bubble up in your awareness. I mean, that's kind of what the third step is about. Is it's almost like you have to lower the water level, like across the board, so that you can raise the mountains that actually matter. Let's start simpler, which is just a single note and a list in Bear to even just identify what the projects are to start.
Should I put today's date?
Yeah.
All right.
Start with the easiest place to start always is just what's on your mind. What immediately comes to the surface.
Oh my gosh. Well, so I have this book club, season 3, finances, and these are like what's coming up for me is like projects, but they also could just be like single tasks or whatnot.
So go clearly up a level from tasks, because tasks, if we truly listed it, would probably be like hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, even so, writing this like book club season 3 doesn't really like what's the project?
Do you have any responsibility or commitment toward it that you have to do?
Yeah.
Say until you wrote season 3, it was more like an area, indefinite end date. But then when you add season 3, you add a time box. Okay. So then it's more of a project.
Okay. So another project is actually an application that I need to do for a thing called Climate Base that I had applied to. There's one for Creative Mornings where I am again also an application of something, and then New Public. There is this thing that I'm doing with my story coach. I guess those are just like top of mind at this moment.
So is there anywhere to kind of jog your memory? Is there anywhere else you would look, like your projects in your task manager or elsewhere, to kind of like
if I look at things, there are some things I could take from there. So like there's the annual review that there's like a vacation that's coming up that we're doing.
Okay.
There's some things around that.
Any like home projects?
Yeah, there definitely are. Can I just tell you a project I've been putting off for like a while that we have to do like termite inspection stuff.
Perfect. Any other trips you're contemplating?
Yeah. Well, there's like a summer vacation that we wanted to kind of do.
Anything you've thought of making or creating, like a piece of writing or a piece of music, anything like that? Any course that you're taking? You have a couple here.
One of the things I mentioned earlier was that I really want to have some creative outlet, like a hobby, and like calligraphy is actually something I'm really interested in. Oh gosh. All right. So now, learning wise, there is stuff that's coming up. Take some kind of like coding class. There is my website that I finally put together a like V1 of, and I'd love to like do a V2 of that. So maybe that's one also.
Great one.
Like, do you typically like set a certain amount of time, and it's like that's enough, like 10 minutes?
I look more at the number. I would say 10 to 15 is kind of a minimum. That's almost everyone tends to have for some reason between 10 or 15 projects, and we're there.
Okay, great.
Let's pause here for a second before we do our little celebration. How did this feel?
It felt really helpful. I mean, I definitely feel it allows me to feel more like relaxed. So it's a nice way of just trying to catalog stuff that I probably just have running in the background that doesn't really give me the space to show up like more fully because it's taking up a portion of the RAM, you know?
Totally. Let's ceremoniously check off step number 3. All right. So, what are some of the notifications that you might want to adjust?
I will say that like I've done a pretty comprehensive job of going through every single app that I have, deleting apps I don't use anymore, and then making sure that I don't get notifications, banners, anything like that from my phone. On my computer, it's this similar story. When I'm in a certain mode, I will put the focus and do not disturb on the computer.
What if we broaden the definition to distractions? For example, the common one, sometimes people have social media apps logged in on their phone, and they realize in order to achieve their goals going forward, they need to not have that.
That's pretty fair, yeah. One thing that I used that I really enjoyed for a bit was a thing called Opal. You couldn't like log in or actually use any of the apps. It would kind of grayed out.
Okay, well, let's stick to our little checklist here.
Yep.
And I would say that it's time for you to do the honors.
Hey, really?
Yes, you've earned it.
Oh my God! Oh, what a feeling!
Feels good, right?
I feel like I have a sort of clear path to look and see what I want to plant.
Okay, well, let's plant some stuff.
Okay.
These first 4 steps that we've covered were really focused on the past, kind of like what's already happened. Now let's pivot and talk about the future. Let's start with the content you consume. I don't know if this needs to be on your phone, but like look at like Reddit, LinkedIn, podcasts, maybe books.
Okay.
What kind of things do you look at on LinkedIn?
There's a few people. Nick Babbage is someone that I follow that does a really good job of posting these nice examples that he finds and he puts together. Kind of summarizes. So this one, for instance.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So something like this, I would take and I would put in Readwise.
So this is a good starting point for your different sources of content. How do you feel about your ability to capture like the best parts or excerpts or highlights into a place for safekeeping?
I feel decent about like stuff that's text. For things like a podcast, I know there's apps where you can like take clips. I don't necessarily need that. What I really need is just like, what's the main idea? And maybe if I want to point someone to like, there's this Art of Accomplishment podcast. There was one on fighting well that I've shared with all my friends. And everyone's like been like, wow, this is incredible. This has done a lot for us. There's like specific parts where like I'm like mentioning like, hey, you should really listen to this. A timestamp would be nice. I'll do that for like YouTube because it's really easy.
There's an app called Snipped that you can use for that. That's really cool. Okay. But generally, how about so text is pretty good. Is that because you're using Reader, which is very text centric?
It is. And also this is actually, okay, because I have, almost 3-year-old and we spend a lot of time together. I don't want to necessarily be on my phone all the time because I don't want him to just like see me addicted to this thing.
Yeah.
If I go to the bathroom, and you're a dad, you know this.
Stay in there like half an hour.
I'll get 45 minutes an hour. Are you kidding me? It's like a vacation. Like it's an Airbnb. So I'll take my phone with me. I don't have my headphones. I can't listen to something, so I'll specifically read.
Yeah.
And I will get in as much as I possibly can before there's like, and I get out.
Absolutely. Bathroom reading. It's
bathroom reading.
Essential.
I grew up with bathroom reading, by the way. I remember it was the quietest place in my house growing up. I finished whole sets of the Chronicles of Narnia in the bathroom.
So it's a time-tested tradition.
Absolutely, yeah.
Could we see your reader app?
Sure. Yeah, thank you for asking.
So this is kind of your reading list. And so when you sit down on that toilet, what's your go-to place to find something to read?
Well, it depends. If I'm not necessarily. I'm mostly capturing stuff from Kindle. So I might be like actually highlighting on the app
On your phone.
on my phone.
The
Yeah.
Kindle app on your phone.
Yeah, because it's really smooth. I don't like. I'll read with the Kindle Scribe at night. It's next to my bed, and I even use it to like write down some, jot down some stuff before I go to bed. But in this,
So the Kindle device is for the bed.
It's for the
just
bed.
sitting there on the nightstand. Your phone, since you always have it with you in the bathroom or other places.
the phone is on me. It's like basically an organ.
Yeah. So it sounds like for the most part, you're pretty happy with your capturing habits.
I think so.
You are able to gather and save most of the most valuable insights that you're gaining from this.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, that's good news.
Hey, great.
Let's talk about outputs now. So what's coming in, inputs, what's going out, outputs. And let's just stay on the level of goals. So you mentioned when we first started talking your 3 kind of high level intentions. Could you remind us what those are?
Yeah, it's to build community. It is to be a great dad and like role model. And then the third one connections. Yeah, building deep connections. That's right.
Okay, so those are like your 3 like North Stars, like the biggest, highest level intentions that you have.
Yeah.
So let's go down one level to more specific goals. You wrote your 3 intentions at the top, your current projects, so that we're being realistic. Below that, let's just say goals. How about goals for 2025?
Ooh. Okay. So one, it's this thing of quality time with my son on some fun adventures.
How about, let's say, health?
I want to be more fit. So definitely stronger. And I think more like pliable. One of the goals that I have for this year is actually to get into boxing. Yeah, it was like boxing and, at some point like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like all those kind of things that are more like physical that to get out of my head, There's a backyard project. It's a gift for my wife too, because she loves to cook and to bake. And she got me a pizza oven for Father's Day. And have I used this thing once? No. My wife has actually been incredible. She will get the dough. We'll make pizza together, as a family. And I want to make a space in the backyard where like this pizza oven lives that we can go and have people over and, entertain. To have gatherings.
Absolutely. Perfect. Yeah. Is that another one to have more gatherings?
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
What about in your career with work?
Definitely a new job would be amazing. And not just a new job, but a new job that feels meaningful.
Yeah.
And where I can be valued. Yeah. There's, I mentioned before, like just a deeper connection with my wife and son, like in general. I had this idea that when my dad passed, I started collecting all these like photographs and like, VHS tapes. And I bought this thing off Amazon to like basically digitize them.
Any learning goals?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the ones was, is learning coding to, bridge the gap between design and execution.
Perfect. I'm sure we could go on, but that's a great starting point. I think we can now put a line through this. Now let's talk about projects. So we did intentions, goals, and now let's go one more level down, one level more specific, one level more concrete, and talk about projects, which I think of as like the specific vehicle that is going to take you from here, where you are, to this new place you want to go, which is your goals. It's just the vehicle. It's just like the car that you get in and you drive it there. Another way to think of projects is the thing, the vehicle, again, that connects these to these. So this is what's coming in. This is what you want to go out. So the raw material, the fuel for these goals that we've just identified has to be these inputs, right? Information is the main input. You know what? Let's actually make a new heading right between these two.
Okay.
And just say content sources.
Okay.
Let's write down some of those ones that we looked at previously. Sure. Reddit, LinkedIn, Instagram, ebooks and paper books, YouTube,
courses in general,
podcasts. Is there any content you're consuming that has no relationship to any of your goals? And this takes some honesty,
Yeah. A lot of these have great stuff, but it's just to be more choosy within them.
I think that's an excellent point. It's not that Instagram is evil and LinkedIn is righteous. It's like within each platform.
Yeah.
Almost on a post by post basis sometimes.
For sure. There's garbage everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's something to consider, is changing your interaction with some of these feeds.
Yeah.
My other question is, when you look at these goals, are there any for which you don't have any sources of information?
That's a great question.
And don't just think information or content. Think motivation, accountability, guidance, coaching, community. Like, these are not just content consumption sources. They are literally your whole psychological environment that you're creating through these different things.
Okay, so when you put the term psychological environment, that does make me think that, like, launching a side project, I've got information, but the accountability part is not there. What that might look like is signing up for some kind of a course, or like getting other people in a group that are also doing the same kind of thing. I know there's tons of them out there. Like, I know for writing, there's things like Foster. I think that's definitely something. There's no accountability for, like, launching a side project. There's no accountability for digitizing photos and videos. That could go on forever. I could push that off till 2029. I don't know if the thing for me is to, like, put something on the calendar to say, I'm having a screening on this date, and now I have to build the plane while we're in flight.
So you made a number of great observations. You noticed that in some cases, in many cases, what's missing is not more information. There's so much information out there. It's accountability. But you also noted that you have the ability to create accountability, for example, by putting a group together. Is there any of these that putting a group together might help?
Yeah, definitely more. Having more gatherings. That's something that I could bring to have a group around for accountability.
So some of these goals that you've written down are already essentially projects. They're very clear, very specific, very concrete. But are there any that are a little vague that you would like to make into projects?
Well, backyard project doesn't really tell me much, like, later on. And to get a little more clear on it is, like, building a space for my wife and I to, like, cook outdoor and host things outdoor.
Perfect. So cooking and hosting space, which might just be like one corner of it's not necessarily the whole yard you have to
Exactly. Yeah. And in fact, limiting it makes it feel less overwhelming, maybe even possibly doable. Yeah.
You could either reword it or put it, like, in parentheses.
This one feels really vague. Launch a side project around what? But that's part of it is, like, an exploration. So maybe it's launch a discovery.
Amazing. Any others that call out for that?
If it's a project, the boxing or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I'd say the project is 1 day a week. I want to do some boxing with a coach.
I would put a time limit on it. So, like, my first 4 boxing classes or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Something that's so that there's an achievement moment.
Yeah. I'd probably do that.
So we could continue, but this is kind of a good first pass. One thing I want you to notice is there's 2 lists here that are kind of wanting or needing to be merged, which is things you're already committed to, which is not minor, right? And then things that are about the future you want to create. This is outside the scope of our process, but if you were to continue this, one thing I would look at is out of, 12 plus 9, 21 projects. If you had to choose 10, if you had to choose 8, if you had to choose 6, like, could you sort of force yourself to narrow down so that your attention and your resources are not being spread this way, but they're more focused? That's one of the hardest things to do, is to basically kill your darlings, kill things that you've said are important to you or that you're already doing in order to maximize the chances that the ones you do commit to actually are successful. I think we're done with number 3. Okay. Our final task is to revisit your habits. So we looked previously at your habits around, or even just your settings around notifications, which was kind of specific, broadening that to all of your consumption habits, the things you read, watch, listen to, when you consume those things, on what device, whether you take notes, how you take notes. Let's maybe look at this list to kind of jog your memory. Is there anything you want to change about your relationship to information or to the digital world?
Yeah. I mean, so when you talked about when, I don't have a clear sense of, like, borders or boundaries in like my day. you know, like I feel this tug of like things could just like go on forever all day, and then it's like I didn't get around to the things I I wanted. So just having boundaries of like when I do some of this stuff. Like right now, I don't get a ton of emails that are really valuable for me. So like I don't need to spend a lot of time there, and I don't need to like the same with Instagram. Like if I want to go on there for specific things like a cooking recipe or DIY, I should set some limits for myself because like I don't need a ton of like information related to like recipes. You know, just a few a week or maybe even a few every month might be fine. We have tons of recipes already. We have tons of cookbooks. I don't need more. I need more time. So that's something. I think the boundary is really important here for me, especially because of the ADHD.
So one boundary you mentioned, do you want to set aside certain hours of the day that are no device hours or something?
Yeah. I definitely do. During the day, like I looked at my screen time thing with my wife over the weekend. I was like 6.5 hours a day on average. I was like blown away by that because I thought like, oh no, I you know, second brain. I've read all these like things. There's no way that I got caught up in the cycle that I did, and it was like, oh, that's brutal. I definitely want to have no screen time during the day, and then at night I don't really want to use my device either because I want to spend quality time with my wife and my son. Like I don't want to have that just interrupt my attention when I want to be present with them, you know? And I don't know, maybe there's like a thing about like, when am I in the mood to look for like cooking or DIY things in general? Am I looking at them because I want to distract myself from something else? Or am I looking at them because I'm really interested in like, wow.
Excellent questions. Yeah, I think oftentimes we're consuming content or doing something on our phones or whatever to fulfill some deeper psychological need or emotional need or bodily somatic need that we either aren't aware of, don't even know about, don't even realize that that's the need we're fulfilling, right? And the first step is just to bring that into awareness, non-judgmentally. I think that's an excellent place to end. Thank you, Raphael, for being so incredibly open and honest and transparent and walking us through your digital world. I deeply appreciate it, and I hope you've gained some clarity from this.
You definitely have, man. Thank you. Appreciate you.